You ever look at your bank account after years of working hard and wonder, how am I still not getting ahead? Maybe you've been doing what everyone says you're supposed to do. You go to work every day. You pay your bills on time. You try not to spend recklessly. You even put money into savings whenever you can. Yet somehow every year feels almost exactly the same. Your income might be slightly higher. Your savings account might be a little bigger. But financially, it feels like you're running on a treadmill. A lot of effort, but not much forward progress. And that's frustrating because when you look online, everyone seems to have a different answer. One person says you need to invest more. Another says you should focus on paying off debt. Someone else claims real estate is the secret. Then another person tells you to start a side business. Look, most financial advice focuses on big moves and big opportunities. But here's the thing. Real wealth is rarely built through one giant decision. It's usually built through dozens of small financial wins that compound over time. And today, we're going to explore why those small wins matter far more than most people realize. My name is Demas, and I spend way too much time thinking about money. If you're someone who feels stuck financially, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Now, let's start by challenging one of the most common beliefs about money. Most people assume that becoming wealthy is simply a matter of earning more. If they could just get a higher-paying job, land a promotion, or make a little extra income on the side, all of their financial problems would disappear. And to be fair, income absolutely matters. It's difficult to build wealth if you're constantly struggling to cover basic expenses. But here's what most people don't realize. There are plenty of people earning good salaries who still live paycheck to paycheck. At the same time, there are people with average incomes who steadily build wealth year after year. So if income alone isn't the answer, what explains the difference? The answer is often found in the small decisions that happen after the paycheck arrives. How much is saved? How much is invested? How much is lost to unnecessary fees, high-interest debt, or impulse spending? Wealth isn't determined only by how much money comes in. It's determined by how effectively that money is managed. And that's where small money wins begin to separate those who stay stuck from those who move forward financially. Let's talk about the financial advice most people hear every day. You've probably heard phrases like, invest early, pay off your debt, live below your means, or stop buying things you don't need. On the surface, all of that sounds like solid advice, and honestly it is. The problem is that these recommendations are usually presented as if they're complete solutions. They're not. Real life is far more complicated than a simple financial slogan. Imagine two people earning the exact same salary. They live in the same city, face similar expenses, and start with similar financial situations. 10 years later, one has built a strong investment portfolio, has little to no debt, and feels financially secure. The other is still stressed about money and wondering where all their income went. What happened? It wasn't one massive decision. It wasn't a lottery ticket or a lucky investment. It was hundreds of small choices made consistently over time. One person tracked expenses. The other didn't. One avoided high-interest debt. The other carried balances from month to month. One increased investments whenever income increased. The other increased spending. Here's the thing. Wealth is rarely built through dramatic moments. It's usually built through small decisions repeated over and over again. And those decisions quietly compound in the background for years. Now let's look at a real-world example that highlights why small financial wins can have such a powerful impact. Imagine you're carrying a $5,000 credit card balance with an interest rate of 22%. At the same time, you're doing what many financial experts recommend, investing $200 every month into a broad stock market index fund that averages around 8% annually over the long term. At first glance, it feels like you're making progress. You're investing consistently. You're thinking about the future, and you're trying to build wealth. But here's where it gets interesting. Your investments may be earning around 8%, while that credit card debt is costing you 22% every single year. In other words, one side of your financial life is moving forward, while the other is pulling you backward even faster. Look, many people focus on potential investment returns because they feel exciting. Watching your portfolio grow is rewarding. Paying off debt feels less exciting because nothing appears to happen. But mathematically, eliminating high-interest debt is often one of the best guaranteed returns available. Every dollar of interest you avoid paying stays in your pocket. Sometimes the smartest financial move isn't chasing a higher return. It's stopping unnecessary losses first. That's a small win that can completely change the direction of your financial future. Now let's look at a different kind of small financial win, one that many people underestimate. Imagine you negotiate a raise at work and earn an extra $5,000 per year. At first, that number may not seem very impressive. After taxes, it might only translate into a few hundred extra dollars each month. Most people look at that amount and think, that's nice, but it's not going to change my life, and that's exactly where many people make a mistake. Here's what most people don't realize. Wealth isn't built by looking at money in terms of weeks or months. It's built by looking at money over years and decades. Let's say you invest that extra income instead of allowing your lifestyle to expand. Rather than upgrading your car, increasing your monthly spending, or buying more things, you consistently invest those additional dollars every year. Over time, those investments begin earning returns. Then those returns start generating returns of their own. This is the power of compounding. What began as a simple salary negotiation eventually grows into something much larger than the raise itself. One conversation, one uncomfortable meeting with your manager, one small improvement in income. Yet over decades, that decision can potentially create hundreds of thousands of dollars in additional wealth. That's the difference between thinking short term and thinking like someone who understands how wealth actually grows. So if small financial wins are so powerful, why don't more people take advantage of them? The answer has less to do with intelligence and more to do with human psychology. Our brains simply weren't designed for long-term wealth building. They were designed for survival. Thousands of years ago, immediate rewards increased the chances of staying alive. Today, those same instincts often work against us financially. Think about it. Spending $500 on something you can enjoy today feels exciting. Investing that same $500 for a future that may be decades away feels far less rewarding. This psychological tendency is known as instant gratification. We naturally place a higher value on rewards we can experience immediately, even when waiting would produce a much better outcome. There's also another powerful force called loss aversion. Studies have repeatedly shown that people experience the pain of losing money much more intensely than the satisfaction of gaining the same amount. That's why investors often panic when markets fall. They see red numbers on a screen and feel an overwhelming urge to sell. Unfortunately, many end up locking in losses and missing the eventual recovery. Look, successful wealth building isn't just about understanding numbers, it's about understanding yourself. The biggest obstacle to financial success is often not a lack of knowledge. It's the emotional decisions we make when money is involved. Those emotions can quietly cost us thousands of dollars over a lifetime if we don't learn how to manage them. This is where wealthy people tend to think differently from everyone else. Contrary to popular belief, most wealthy individuals are not constantly searching for the next big opportunity. They're not waking up every morning trying to find a stock that will double overnight, or a business idea that will make them millions. Instead, they focus on something much less exciting but far more effective: systems. Look, most people approach money through individual decisions. They ask questions like, what stock should I buy? Or, what's the best investment right now? Wealthy people often ask a different question. How can I build a system that makes good financial decisions automatically? They automate savings. They automate investments. They create routines that remove emotion from the process. Because they understand something most people overlook. Consistency is far more powerful than motivation. Here's what most people don't realize. Small improvements repeated consistently can create extraordinary results. A 1% improvement in saving, spending, investing, or earning may seem insignificant today, but over years those tiny advantages compound. Just like an airplane changing its course, by only a few degrees can end up in a completely different destination. Small financial adjustments can completely change your future. Wealth is rarely built through dramatic moments. It's built through systems that quietly work in the background long after the excitement has disappeared. So the big question becomes, what can you actually do starting today? The good news is that building wealth doesn't require a dramatic lifestyle change. You don't need to double your income overnight. You don't need to become a financial expert. And you certainly don't need to find the perfect investment. What you need is a series of small actions that create momentum. Start by identifying any high-interest debt you may have. If you're paying double-digit interest rates on credit cards or personal loans, make eliminating that debt a priority. Every dollar of interest you avoid is a dollar that can be used to build your future instead of financing your past. Next, automate your savings and investments. Don't rely on willpower. Set up automatic transfers so that money moves into savings or investment accounts before you have the opportunity to spend it. This simple step removes emotion and makes consistency much easier. Then, whenever your income increases, resist the urge to immediately increase your lifestyle. Instead, direct a portion of that extra income toward investing. At the same time, regularly review your spending habits. Not because every small purchase is ruining your future, but because awareness creates control. Remember, the goal isn't perfection. The goal is creating systems that help you win a little bit every day, because those small wins eventually become the foundation of long-term wealth. As we wrap up, I want you to remember one important idea. Most people spend years waiting for a single breakthrough that will completely transform their financial life. They wait for the perfect investment opportunity, a huge promotion, a successful business idea, or some dramatic event that suddenly changes everything. But in reality, that's not how wealth is usually built. Here's the thing. Financial success is often much quieter than people imagine. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens through small decisions repeated consistently over long periods of time. One extra debt payment, one automatic investment contribution, one salary negotiation, one smart financial choice that seems insignificant in the moment but becomes powerful through repetition. Look, the people who eventually achieve financial freedom aren't always the smartest, the luckiest, or even the highest earners. More often, they're the people who stayed consistent when others became distracted. They understood that wealth is less about making one perfect decision and more about making enough good decisions over time. So stop focusing on finding a miracle solution. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Instead, focus on the next small financial win you can make today, because those small wins don't stay small forever. Given enough time, they compound into something much bigger. And one day, you'll look back and realize that what seemed like tiny steps were actually building your wealth all along.